In 1984, film audiences were introduced to a new kind of villain. 7 years later, writer-director James Cameron has re-teamed with stars Arnold Schwarzenegger and Linda Hamilton for the long-awaited sequel, Terminator 2, Judgment Day.
If it is little children today or grown-ups, the one line that everyone always asks me to say is, say, "I'll be back." Say that line. Come on now.
Are you gonna be back or what?
I'm a cybernetic organism. Cyberden Systems Model 101. I'll be back.
Those words took on new meaning in the fall of 1990 when cast and crew reunited in the Mojave Desert to continue the story of Sarah Connor and her fight against the machines of the future. Cameron's vision of a killer cyborg from the future hit a chord with audiences worldwide.
The Terminator represented something to people, a kind of a dark side of the human psyche.
The Terminator.
Arnold was always a very strong force in trying to get the sequel made.
I've said to Jim Cameron, I said, we should have an ongoing story because we're dealing here with such an interesting subject.
Sequel must be true to the first film, but yet it must be more than the first film. We have to give them what they got in the first, and we have to give them something new and fresh. And I think that's what we've done in Terminator 2.
How can Arnold be starring in the sequel?
A Terminator is built in a factory, and there's one after another, and they all look like Arnold.
Sophistication to the way it will look, and bigger, much bigger things will happen on the screen.
Action! Action, Arnold! CO2!
For 6 months, Terminator 2 combined the efforts of over 1,000 filmmakers, shooting day and night throughout the state of California to capture the many action sequences of the script. The production actually changed the course of a river to shoot high-speed chases in the extensive flood control channels of Los Angeles. A defunct steel mill was resurrected by the filmmakers, recreating the intense heat and light of molten steel. Ironically, actual temperatures in the mill averaged 42 degrees, making it difficult for the actors to work up a sweat. And in Northern California, a team of expert pyrotechnicians staged one of the largest police shootouts in cinematic history.
And action, Arnold!
Arnold, tell me that wasn't a rush.
Their crowning achievement, however, was blowing up a 4-story office building.
Arnold and I working together, it's just like it was on the first picture. He's one of the most professional people I've ever worked with. He has incredible concentration. He takes physical direction like no actor I've ever worked with. And it's really a joy to work with him.
Yeah, exactly.
Early part of the shoot.
It was before my method acting seminar.
Although then, in 1984, he paid a lot of attention to the acting, he pays much more attention to the acting now. The way he goes about directing actors, how much time he spends with rehearsals, how much time he spends with perfection and with moves and gestures.
I think you both go, and then freeze.
So I would say that in that area, he's much smarter and much more sophisticated. I mean, he wants to do basically everything because he has such a clear vision of what he wants to see, and see him ending up running with the smoke machine and creating smoke in front of the camera and then putting on blood and trying to do your makeup. That's why people always say that a Jim Cameron movie has a certain look, because it's a total representation of what he wants to see.
Long before the cameras roll, Cameron and crew are hard at work, designing sequences and testing ideas in a unique mix of filmmaking and science. Also during pre-production, an ex-Israeli commando provided the cast with military combat and weapons training. Since the character of Sarah has become an expert marksman, Linda was required to master a variety of guns and assault rifles.
It was really like entering the military and learning the mindset and coming up against myself in a big way. That was even more significant in terms of playing Sarah.
Ashen bodies that were going to be blown away by a nuclear holocaust. It was very unsettling. And it was the one time when you got a little uncomfortable because it wasn't pleasant to look at while you were shooting it. But it is the important aspect of the film.
Judgment Day, the day Sarah was told the war would start, clearing the path for humanity's successor. The machines. For Terminator 2, Cameron mobilized an army of actors, stunt people, and special effects crews to create the final battle between humanity and the machines. This battle took place on many levels in Terminator 2, as the crew executed one successful vehicle stunt after another.
That is a cut.
One scene required the Terminator to climb from a speeding pickup onto a heavy tanker, a feat performed by Arnold's stunt double, Peter Kent. After a successful spin-out, the truck was rolled onto its side and dragged by a team of tractors. Peter rode the sliding tanker like a surfboard. One of the many tasks Stan Winston and crew undertook was enhancing the original Terminator makeup design.
Originally, there were a number of stages designed or considered as Arnold stages in makeups for this particular production. An actor must know going into a situation like this that there is physical stress with this process. Fortunately, Arnold Schwarzenegger is a pro.
3 more hours of this. I don't know how much longer I can take this.
He attacks it as a pro. He doesn't complain.
All right. But I need my foot massages, my oatmeal, my Austrian Christmas music. I need it all. Go ahead. Do it.
This pre-made up piece here is going to be glued to Arnold's face with the help of Arnold holding it.
Hold on a second. Okay, now.
It's the glue we use. It makes these arms pop up and get all swollen. On days when the makeup doesn't turn out 100%, I just sneak by the camera and rub a little Vaseline on the lens, and then everything looks fine. But don't tell the DP that. He gets really upset.
This was so funny.
During the production, makeup artist Jeff Don and Steve Laporte and hairdresser Peter Tothball would transform Arnold into the flesh-covered Terminator an estimated 35 times, totaling 6 consecutive days in a makeup chair for Arnold.
Not too much, because if you put too much blood on it, it doesn't. You can't see the work that's been done. You can't see the metal and the flesh that's gone. It just looks like a big bloody mess, like you slapped some hamburger on it.
That's a good example, Jeff.
Hamburger?
I'm proud of you.
Well, I'm hungry right now, so I thought I'd use hamburger.
What it is I'm too handsome. No camera can take all these good looks. So what they do in every movie basically is they put appliances on and terrible makeup on to kind of tone my looks down a little bit, so I match up to the rest of the actors in the movie.
All right. Wow. Was my breath that bad? 2.5, 3 hours, and he's done. The next stage for the makeup is stage 5, 6, 7, and it's basically the same that Arnold had before, just more chrome, more appliances. He'll have his eye plugged up so he won't be able to see out of it. And it'll take probably an hour, hour and a half longer to put on. He's going to love it.
Terminator in this film adapts certain human characteristics.
Hasta la vista, baby.
That character slowly develops by the very fact of hanging around a human being.
Jesus, you were gonna kill that guy!
And all that registers, and I start dealing with all those kind of emotions.
The Terminator sent to kill young John is unlike any killing machine ever imagined.
I call him a mimetic polyalloy, meaning that he's made of a substance that can imitate anything.
Playing the T-1000 is Robert Patrick.
Jim was looking for somebody that was sort of a mixture between the Protector character, which was Michael Biehn in the first, and Arnold Schwarzenegger, which is the Terminator. And I think he was looking for somebody that could look like he could possibly just be a human, and yet could be a Terminator, could handle the intensity to be in a Terminator.
Well, I wanted to find someone who would be a good contrast to Arnold. If the 800 series is a kind of human Panzer tank, then the 1000 series had to be a Porsche, an advanced prototype Terminator who was more fearsome than the old model.
My character wants to completely take out John Connor. That's his mission. A relentless, tenacious killing machine, and he won't stop.
Though their missions are exact opposites, both Terminators stem from the same creator, the unseen supercomputer called SkyNet.
So it's like this is the first time you've had to deal with evil, because Terminators don't fight Terminators. Right. It's never happened before.
We stem from the same technology, so we've got to have some like programming. So we're both killing machines, we're just different types.
The new Terminator, really, with his new capabilities, is much more threatening.
I'm basically death. You know, they're running from death.
Both Terminators are programmed to complete their missions at all costs and without question.
Has been very intense, the work, and you know, a lot of night shooting and a lot of long hours and so on.
Did you see that? Did you see that?
Oh, he's just so he's
And I'm very honored and happy that I'm able to do the second one.
In 1984, Cameron transformed Arnold into one of the screen's most memorable villains. 7 years later, the process is reversing itself. The Terminator is becoming a protector.
No matter how inconsequential you may seem to others or even to yourself, your individual existence may have great value in the future.
One of the most amazing aspects of Terminator 2 is that it's taken the art and science of special effects to an entirely new level. Several Academy Award-winning effects companies worked under a strict veil of secrecy for almost a year to create the many and varied effects of Terminator 2. Fantasy II, under the command of Terminator veteran Gene Warren, greatly expanded the future war sequences from the first film. Combining live-action combat sequences with effects photography, artists created the massive battlefield for the war between man and machine. The famous endoskeleton also returns for the sequel. Stan Winston's company joined forces with stop-motion animator Peter Kleinow to create an army of these high-tech death figures.
It's the same endoskeleton. Basically the same design. We have finessed it, but it's much more technically advanced than the endoskeleton in the first movie. It's actually artistically advanced, so they can do more. There's more life to these endoskeletons.
But redesigning the original endoskeleton was only the beginning for Stan Winston and staff. In the scene where the Terminator must force his way past a SWAT firing squad, Stan was called upon to create an Arnold double that could withstand a barrage of gunfire.
There's nothing that we can do that will actually duplicate living things. We can come close, but we can't do it exactly.
It's incredible, huh?
It's working good. It's working good. For this, considering the fact that it's going to be third shots, it'll only be on Christmas. We are making animatronic duplications of living things. 2, 3, 4. Perfect.
Lighten up.
Very nice.
It's just a movie. What? Okay, you don't get paid. So what? I make it for you, okay? Relax.
I don't think I'll get over it, and I totally believed it.
Creating the T-1000 required the combined efforts of Stan Winston's company and Industrial Light and Magic under the direction of Dennis Murin.
Can it even be done? A show like this, is it technically feasible to even do it now? And Jim was hoping it was, and I thought it was, so we all agreed that we could do it.
When the T-1000's abilities went beyond what was possible with animatronics, makeup, and prosthetics, ILM was given the task of creating the effects optically, literally redefining state-of-the-art for computer animation.
Computer-generated images are a way of coming up with new effects, especially when we've been doing traditional effects for 80 years. And you're starting to see, I think, a lot of sort of the limits of traditional effects, sort of it's very hard to use the same tools and do the different things all the time.
As on The Abyss, ILM employed a revolutionary laser scanning process to capture Robert Patrick's movements and form.
And one of the most powerful ways, or one of the most exciting ways to use it, is to get people's facial expressions in the computer.
I'm sitting in a chair, like this, and I can't move this way. I can't move this way. I've got to stay totally controlled, hit this emotion, and lock on this expression.
We can reconstruct the actor's face. It's a very free process. You can sort of go with what's happening and digitize those expressions as you wish.
Terminator was heralded as the science fiction film of the decade. 7 years later, stars Arnold Schwarzenegger and Linda Hamilton and visionary director James Cameron have created one of the largest movies ever, the conclusion of the Terminator saga. For cast and crew, Terminator 2 was nothing short of destiny.
Hasta la vista, baby.